In the show tonight, run by courtesy of Ted Zeman, A View from Above from Dan R Scheidell's a discussion about model railroad with Peter and Joe, a photo of the months, and the introduction of the 3D print creations from Bernard Hellen. Come in right now. In compliance with COPA, this video is not for children under the age of 14. Your discretion is advised. Sponsored by Canadian Model Railroad.ca and by donations from patrons like you.
Well, welcome again to It's Train Time, episode number 4 for April 2020.
Yes, and things have changed a lot since our last show. We're keeping our distance as much as we can with this COVID-19 virus.
Yeah, that's pretty serious, that thing.
And I guess the upside is that as modelers, we get a little extra time to spend on our modeling, whether it's layouts or rolling stock or locomotives.
Yeah, we do. Though that is a lot of guys that at this time, instead of working the layout, they will be watching video a little bit like ours.
Yes,
right?
yes.
The problem with a producer like us, it's a little harder to get material.
Yes, we can't go out and interview anybody, and
No.
with everything shutting down, it's hard to get material other than our own stuff that we're doing.
Well, you know, Peter, we were thinking about going to the Spur Train in Calgary, the show in there, and I watch their website so I can update our website.
Yeah.
And the 2020 show, totally canceled.
Canceled, yes. Yep.
And so meaning their next show would be April 10 and 11 of 2021.
That's right. That's right.
In between, right after, is the Regina show that I don't know what happened with this one, if it would be on or not. But more than likely will be canceled too, which is the story about everywhere in North America and even in Europe. They canceled their show and their get-together during that pandemic. So definitely it's limited material to us. So this show will try to give you something that is good, that can entertain you, and we still have the photo of the month. That is not a problem.
Yes, we have a number of them too, don't we?
Yeah, and then we have a view from above.
Yes.
Which is great.
Yes, a drone shot.
Yeah. And this time I will put a plug in for Bernard Hellen, who's from Gatineau, Quebec. He's doing some fantastic 3D printings. Fish,
beavers, moose,
hounds, and so on. And a little later on during the show, I will have a short commercial for him. So I encourage you guys to encourage Bernard. He does excellent work. I receive his set of beavers not too long ago.
Yeah.
I have to paint them, but they're beautiful little piece, you know. You don't have flash all over the place. It's high quality 3D print that he's doing there. So you can reach Bernard by going onto our webpage or going to the Facebook group that we have, a Canadian Model Railroad group on Facebook. And you can also get the links right below, you know, just before you put your comments in. Talking about comments, Peter.
Yes.
We had a lot of beautiful comments coming in, but not enough comments. guys, you should say what you think, because we need your help to guide us.
Positive or negative?
Well, one was positive and negative at the same time, but it was a constructive one.
Yes.
So,
Because we're still learning. This is only our 4th episode.
yeah, right now we'll have 4 episodes on YouTube's plus 2 how-to video. One on painting little people, and the other one was what the second one was all about. Do you remember?
You're doing the logging camp.
No, the logging camp is coming up.
That's coming.
Yeah, that's coming up.
What was the other one? Jeez.
Well, Alzheimer's is there.
Well, we both celebrated birthdays, so
That's right. That guy went a year older.
so we're getting on in years.
That's right. So we got very good memory. It's just the fact it doesn't last too long.
It's too friggin' short.
Yeah. So we were talking at last show about how we inspire younger modelers, or older for that matter, whichever one it is.
Beginners
Non-beginners.
at any age.
Yeah. Modeler that are restarter into the model.
Yes.
Well, question being asked quite a few times is, but how exactly do you get your inspiration? And my answer to that was to the effect that the inspiration come from all over the place. And one thing that helped with the inspiration is observation.
Yes.
So if you look what is around you, you see things, and that's what you reproduce, because you want to reproduce Mother Nature. And Mother Nature is not perfect, Peter.
And not all of us are into scenery either.
No.
I mean, that's kind of my interest, is doing scenery. Other modelers are more interested in, say, weathering rolling stock, or you do a lot of scratch building.
Yeah, I like about everything in the hobby, but definitely my preferred aspect is to do kit bash, scratch building. I love to have buildings that are not the same on all the layout, give them a personal touch. I love scenery and creating some scene that tell you a story.
So like you say, when you're observing things, and if our viewers are out, say they're more into doing weathering, if you're out rail fanning, and I know I've taken a lot of pictures of rolling stock to try and figure out graffiti and stuff on cars. You go out and observe some of the actual rolling stock, and then try to apply that to your models. If it's rust or whatever kind of weathering you want to do, it's...
and they vary from one another.
Oh, for sure. Every card is different.
You can weather your rolling stock like a fleet. So you might do a whole bunch of them, not spending a lot of time, just the major things and so on, and the car will look faded and that type of thing. And then you can go further and be a little bit like a contest, weathering on it, and really go into real details, but that with the pictures, definitely.
And then there's weathering for your buildings too.
Oh yeah, well, weathering for the building, Peter. If you notice, you and I have been working together for quite some time. I partially weather the building as I build them.
Yep.
And I finish the weathering when we put them on the layout of the diorama.
And the scene, yeah.
Yeah, because you see a lot of time, people will weather their buildings, and when you put it on the scene, they're too weathered and not enough. Not enough you can fix, but too much is a little different. And in the studio upstairs for the CMR,
Remember to like us, subscribe, and click the bell so we can notify you when new videos are uploaded. Visit us at our website www.canadianmodelrailroad.ca.
The light that is there over the workbench, both I might say workbenches, is exactly the same type of light that is on the layout.
Yes.
So the color that you see as you're building it, you know, is the one that you will see when it's on the layout.
Yes.
So you can have a preview of the effect of what you're building,
Yes. Yeah.
which is good.
Yeah.
But
You have to fine tune it once it's in the scene, though.
you always have to fine tune it somehow, you know, because now you're putting other elements in it, which could be people, could be vehicles, and so on. And speaking of vehicles, you got to weather your vehicles too.
Yes.
You know, a few years back, we didn't have the choice of the vehicles we got now.
Oh, yeah. There's such a variety out there now.
But there's a lot of good modelers that the only thing they model is those vehicles.
Yep.
You know, a good example on point is Mike Buddy. You know, one of the friends of Ken Patterson.
Yeah.
He does fantastic vehicles, and he does it for a very specific periods.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But you see other modelers that will do some modeling of vehicles, specific vehicles, like for the maintenance of way, and I can refer to Big D in there, Dan Stratton, or you can look at Carlos, I believe, Rodriguez, that does that too. And their vehicle are just out of this world. I was looking on Facebook today, and you had one vehicle that was for sale that was custom made like that. And that vehicle went for $182.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of modelers that won't touch that small stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
So there you go. There's all the different aspects of model railroading or modeling. You don't have to necessarily be a guru or anything of any one of them. Everybody has their forte, you might say, in I'm kind of a scenery guy, somebody else is a weathering guy, somebody else is details on locomotives, and so there's such a variety of aspects to the modeling.
Yeah, but they're not all practice.
Oh yeah.
You see, that's the problem.
Takes a lot of practice.
Example, if you were only doing scenery, Peter, you did get bored at one point.
Yeah.
Because you will not push yourself out of your comfort boundaries, right? And that's the way I look at it. Well, the first model that I built, it'd been a shame to show people what I did, right? It was horrific. A few months later, I redone that model for a different purpose, and it turned out to be a fabulous model. So the fact is, I think it's two major things that you need in modeling. First is patience, and second is to push yourself out of your comfort zone. So you're doing modeling on buildings, but you're scared of sceneries. Try the sceneries. Well, might not come that great to start with, but you will improve with time went. We told you that on the last show. It's the same thing to scratch build. You know, you got a building, you want to make it special. You said, well, what about if I do this and I do that? You dry fit, you don't like it, you just keep going, you start again, whatever. The fact is, with all the videos that are out there, with all the articles that are on different magazines, with all the different show inside of clubs or big show like the Spur Train, you will learn something. And suddenly you will say, that's what I should do. And you do it, and it turned out beautiful.
And that's where all the inspiration comes from.
Well, yeah. And when I was saying earlier, Peter, about observing and so on, don't try to make that layout or that diorama perfect. If you want a perfect diorama, a beautiful scene that you can take some photograph and start to wonder if it's real or not, you have to observe Mother Nature. And when you look at it, it's totally imperfect. So if you can perfect the imperfection of Mother Nature, you will have a perfect scene in your diorama on your miniature world.
Yes, absolutely.
Remember, we were saying that to the student at the club.
Yes, that was one of the things that we told our young students in the club, was that Mother Nature is not perfect, and to observe that and model imperfection, you end up creating perfection on your dioramas or model layouts.
And you develop also some new techniques doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Second thing that we told those students, and we can tell you too, and it's probably not new to you, is when you're building a scene, you have on your mind the story that you want to tell. Because every scene starts with a story, regardless if you say it or you don't. And so you start to do your scene, or the scene and the scene of the scene that you're doing, and at one point, when you have work on it for a certain time,
mm-hmm.
you have to let the scene tell you what it needs.
Yes.
And it does.
Yeah. No, it'll talk to you and let you know if you need a little bit of extra over here or something else over here. I also look at it too from I guess the photography side is, and I think back again to when we did Grand Marais.
Mm-hmm.
You get down and look at a diorama or a layout at the level that you're modeling, whether it's N scale or HO. You've got to get down to the height of the people that are in the scene to see what the scene is telling you.
Yes, and you have to look at that scenes from every angle you can, because majority of the people, when they look at a scene, they look at it straight ahead.
Mm-hmm.
And suddenly they move and they realize, oh, it's something else in here I didn't see. Well, yeah, because modelers will do that on a constant basis, because modelers like to create illusion, and that's what make the magic on a model railroad or a diorama. Is the illusions you will project, right? You will have a little person somewhere that is in a certain position that will suggest to the viewer that it's doing something, when in reality it's doing nothing.
Yes.
Yep. You know? It depends how you place them and how you look at them and which angle they are and so on.
And it's like you say, when you're creating a scene, you have to look at it from different angles, because from different perspective, it looks different. And to create that and be able to, say, photograph it and share it with others, you have so many different
perspective
and scenes that can pop out of one diorama or one scene on your layout, and it all depends on kind of which angle you're looking from.
Well, you know, my Alzheimer's is probably more advanced than Peter's Alzheimer's.
By a month?
Yeah, by a month. I remember at the club, you know, Tony doing a scene, one of our crew member here.
Mm-hmm.
And Tony's doing the scene and there's some moose involved in there. And he doesn't want to lose the moose. So he said, put that moose somewhere, he said, so we don't lose it. I said, all right. At the same time, I had built probably the value of about 20 feet of a national park at the club layout.
Yes.
And within that 20 feet in there, it had ton of scenes that were there. So I put the moose in there. And we had a show at the club not long after, and people go by, and they just look at it, and I say to myself, they didn't see nothing, because they didn't really look, they see one scene, but they don't see 3, 4, 5 inches further that is something else. So anyway, after the show, when we went there for the Friday work and so on, Tony said, I'm ready for the moose.
Where is it?
Where is it? And I said, I will find it. And I look, and I look, and I look. And that evening, 2.5 hours I was there, I never found that moose. And I had put it within the scene of that national park. The next Monday, I look different ways at that national park, and suddenly I saw the moose right underneath of a tree. And I said, I got your moose. So he was pretty happy. So that tell you that people probably saw that moose in there at some point when they were at the show.
Yeah.
And they won't say nothing because it was so naturally placed within the scene in there, even if it was placed there just for storage, right? That it blended with the scene.
Yep.
And I think that's what is the magic of doing scene.
Remember to like us, subscribe, and click the bell so we can notify you when new videos are uploaded. Visit us at our website, www.canadianmodelrailroad.ca. Let me today introduce to you the 3D wildlife collections of Bernard Hellen and his studio miniprint.ca. If you are like me, you like to build a scene that is realistic and believable. And to achieve that, you need to have a quality products such as 3D prints that are affordable. So do like me and go visit Bernard Hellen on his website as www.miniprint.ca, and I guarantee you what you will see you will enjoy. You can find in his vast collection of wildlife animals such as bear, wolf, fish, eagles, beavers, bison, moose, and much, much, much more. And believe you me, when you deal with Bernard Hellen and miniprints.ca, the service is fast and the price is affordable. So do like me, make your scene realistic and believable, and go visit Bernard Hellen at www.miniprint.ca. You won't regret it. You will love it.
Yes. Yeah. To create something that looks so natural and realistic is the fun of it.
And what is it with people who have beautiful scene and they got telephone pole and so on, and they don't, or communication pole, electrical pole, and they don't put the wire in? That give up the scene right there.
Yeah.
Here we have Georgie, that is our set director. You probably see her walking around every time we do some taping.
Yeah.
She's the boss. She tell us what to do. Hey, Georgie. So, welcome aboard. She can talk too, but we told her not to. So, yeah, we see some beautiful, beautiful scene, Peter.
Yes.
And you look at it and suddenly, well, there's no wires on the posts. It's nothing of the sort. One video that we had on our last episode that highly impressed me was the one from Evan Diaz.
The shelf layout?
That little shelf layout, how detailed it was.
Yes. Yeah. Right. Yeah, he even had, because it was a module type of setup, he even had fixed wires that he would drop in place between the two hydro poles on either side of the joint. The hydro poles were kind of abnormally close together, but because that was a separation part, he had it rigged so it was easy to take apart and then just drop the wires back in.
That was super.
Because that was hardwire that he was using.
Yeah. It was, and that way was not destroying his wires, Another thing that we notice, and I have done, and Peter have done, and I think everybody does it, nowadays is not uncommon that you're putting electrical inside of your building, and people forget that when you put a light, being an LED or whatever kind of light, on a styrene model and even a wood model, right? You turn on the electrical and the building glow.
The walls and the roof light up.
Right.
I'm just learning that too.
You do?
I'm just learning that because in talking to you with the layout upstairs, the CMR, all of the lighting that you would do in the buildings inspired me to put lights in my N-scale buildings.
Well, I saw a picture of it and it looked good.
Yeah, that's my first farmhouse. I did have to, I ended up putting some black paint on the, I'm using 5mm bulbs. So I put a little bit of black paint on the bulb itself. And then I had some sheer curtain material that I used over the windows to cut down on the glow.
Yeah.
But you're right. The whole inside of the building is painted black, so the walls don't glow or the roof doesn't glow. So
I posted pictures of the start of the logging camp, which is just 2 buildings. I post that on our Facebook group page.
Yeah.
And one guy says, he said, the lighting in your building look like they're watching TV by the way the color come out of it. And it come out just by the window. And I answer him, I said, it's not the building who does that, is because the inside of the building is paint a light green.
Great, yeah.
Which changed the effect, which is good because at time you paint different color or you paint only one wall on the inside. All the walls are paint, but one wall would be a different color, and it so happened that you put your light in such a way that the reflection will create a different type of effect through your window.
Yep.
And some window you block and some you don't, and so on, and some are partially blocked. But electrical on a building is very important. Now, on modeling, I always like to paint the inside of my building before I paint the outside. Or I will prime inside and out on the sprue, and then I will decide, do I do my inside now or do I do it later, depending on what kind of building I'm building. And then you paint your outside and you weather it, so now you have a protection against that light from both sides.
Yes. Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And you know that when you put it on your layout, you will have the effect that you want to have. Now, if you're close to the layout and you're not too sure about it, bring the building to where it would be located, right? And plug it in, plug it in. You can use a 9-volt batteries or whatever, just so you see where is the light is going and what window you want to block, or so on. And then when you put it on the scene, it just fit perfect.
Yep.
So that is my personal take on the whole thing.
Well, you've certainly inspired me to start lighting my buildings, and I'm in a smaller scale, so.
Well, it doesn't matter the scale,
but it does make a difference. It does make a difference.
The fact is, it creates life on your layout, and your people also create life on the layout.
Yep.
Some people thought I was nut at one time, Peter, because I had my camera with me, and I was walking on streets and just taking picture here and there of about anything.
Yeah.
And what really I was doing, I was on a special mission that day. I wanted to take pictures of people, how they behave on the street, so that when I do a street and the building in there, so I can recreate some scenes. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the reason why I was doing that.
Yeah.
Like I went and take pictures of electrical pole and that type of thing, because so many different kind. I took pictures of things that won't make sense to somebody who look at those pictures, but it does to me because it's a point of reference to create a scene at a later date.
For when you're doing scenes. Yeah. Yes.
If somebody go upstairs to visit the layout when we're done, and within a half an hour come out of there, they won't have seen the zip.
Yeah.
Because you can spend a half an hour just on Jean Cove.
Yeah. Yeah.
And still you will have missed some of the stuff that is there.
Yeah.
Right? So I think, Peter, what we're trying to tell the viewer is don't be scared to try.
Yeah, never hurts to try. With modeling, in most cases, if it really turns out bad, you can redo it. A little bit of water and releases glue, and you got to keep just trying. My mother always used to say, try again, and I think that's what you have to do when you're exploring new aspects of the modeling.
Well, yes, try, there's no doubt about it. And the worst model that you will make, keeping at it will more than likely turn out to be the most fabulous piece that you will have made, because of the effort that you will have spent on it.
Yes. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Don't get discouraged. You know. Don't get intimidated because the big box with a lot of pieces and so on. That doesn't mean nothing. If you're starting, read your instruction. Make sure you got all the pieces that you need, right? Decide if you want to paint them first and so on. Take your time. It's no hurry. It's a hobby, right? And I tell you, and I guarantee you, it won't take that many models for you to do it very beautifully.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Everybody's a professional in some ways.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, because the idea of doing that, scenery building, scratch building, weathering of car or not, rail fanning, whatever on the hobby, the idea is that the hobby is fun.
Is fun. That's enjoy it. Spend as much time or as little time that you can on it. But the underlying thing is enjoy what you're doing and keep trying new things.
But you know what is really nice? You know, I think most of the modelers, they don't look at the hobby to get compliment or kudos.
No,
right? But somebody will look at the diorama that you're doing, right? And go by and said, you know, I know that place. Well, that really make your heart warm, because you know that place was a total concept out of the imagination, and somebody can relate to that specific.
Somewhere they've actually been.
Yeah. That make you feel good.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of that happening with the museum piece in Jollenaere.
We even when we had the club layouts, we had at our open houses, we had a lot of people come in and make comments that, oh, this reminds me
of this or that. Yeah. And you know,
remember to like us, subscribe, and click the bell so we can notify you when new video are uploaded. Visit us at our website www.canadianmodelrailroad.ca.
the Aiken Lakes resort diorama. That project will be a few months in the making. We'll have numerous segment on the how-to, and even some will be with the show so that you see it. That piece will include about everything you can imagine in there, right? It's a beautiful project to come in. It's a beautiful project also for scratch building. It's a nature project, and it's based from an actual resort that is northeast of Winnipeg. You got to go there by plane, but the fishing is superb and so on. But that resort in particular has some attractions, and that's why we decide to do that diorama. More than likely it will end up there. So
we're also including that on the CMR layout upstairs.
Yeah, and in a smaller
version of it.
Yeah, in a smaller version because of space, it would be also on the CMR layout upstairs. We preview that probably by the fall. Our show will bring you upstairs visiting the layout that we're building and what is coming up and so on and so on. A lot of shot by that times of run-bys will be taken right from the layout itself. We already did that with the Cassette Gorge. You saw that on episode number 2. The run-by there with the CN and the CP locomotives is from the Cassette Gorge, and that is the first scene that you meet when you go to the layout at the top of the stairs. The engine that were in there, the CP was a Broadway Limited, and the 2 CNs, they were scale trains, GEVO locomotives. So, and I tell you, that scale train, man, it's just beautiful, to run.
Yeah, they run very well, yeah.
We still have some problem, though, some minor problem with some tracks, which we're fixing right now. Our track gang, Murray and Tony, are doing that, and Peter is working on a scene that we'll be featuring too. That is pretty good. Still River, yeah. So, and I'm working on building. So we all have our job in there. You remember, I don't know, Peter, if you remember that, but now Tony, unfortunately, had his layout tore down because he had to move.
To downsize,
Yeah, and where he is, he cannot build another layout because he doesn't have a basement, and it's too small to build a layout. But when Tony came to the club many years ago, he was talking about this layout, and he said, on my layout, he said, I got absolutely nothing glued at all, because he was scared how it was to turn. And then he started to work with us on scenes and all sort of thing. And suddenly he started to tell us, he said, I start to glue my balance here, and I glue that, and I glue this, and I glue that. And he was gaining confidence on himself in virtue of his own railroad, right? And Tony is one of the guy that when he will not be doing tracks and that type of thing, would be working on sceneries and being very comfortable with it. So each of the guy at the CMR are complementing each other's as far as their work is concerned.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, I think, Peter, that might be postponed depending on COVID.
Yes, we'll have to see how our pandemic goes. We haven't heard from Barb, but it sounds like we were supposed to meet with her in May.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're going to be out of this virus thing by then. We were hoping to have her here in May and then it would be shown at a later time in June or something, I think. But that might all change. We'll just have to kind of fly by the seat of our pants and
even the visit to the museum in Jollenaere to show the piece that we done.
Yes, we were going
might be postponed too.
Yeah, and we don't even know yet our own Megatrain show here in Winnipeg in September. We don't even know if, I mean, it is scheduled, but that could all change yet.
Matter of fact, at the Megatrain show, we hope to be able to produce the show in direct. Nothing official yet, but definitely that we will put a show together and it would be right there at the Megatrain. But if we have the possibility to put it live, direct from there, that would be nice. If not, it would be taped in there and it would be released as soon as we can so that you're up to date on that.
Yeah. Because the show is towards the end of September.
Last weekend of September,
yes.
Usually.
So if we're taping, we could probably release it for the October show.
More than likely, yeah. What I was to say on the time of COVID, maybe for a month or two, depending how the things are going. The fact that we cannot get that much material coming in, and we're not as mobile because we cannot be mobile at this time, we probably will, and I think we will, instead of producing the show like in May, we'll produce how-to videos, and the more the better.
Yeah.
Some would be partial, some would be complete, some would be on 2 or 3 sections, but so that we keep the thing going, because how much can we say, just the two of us sitting in here, about model railroading? So instead we'll show you a few of the things that we're doing.
And we've got Reeve Crossing, our module is almost done.
Yep.
You're working on some wire fence on it right now, but we've got, we powered it up and we have lights and we can run locomotives on it. So we're getting close to the end on the module. So,
well, we got a backdrop to do.
Yep.
And when the backdrop is there, then the control box on the outside of it, because we want to use also that module to test locomotives at the Megatrain show for people who buy locomotives.
Yep.
So that, I will say, would be ready in pretty near no times, and then it would be out on YouTube's. I think it would be probably a 2 or 3 segment
of how-tos.
Yeah. So till then, folks, have a good time. Remember to
social distancing.
Oh, absolutely. And remember to go to our Facebook page group, and get in contact with Bernard Hellen, and his 3D printings. I tell you, you won't regret it. His beautiful work that he does in there. Okay. And
send us comments.
Send us material. Let's have fun.
Yes.
So till then, happy modeling.
Enjoy yourself.